You just heard the former president saying if he loses in November, we reported on this, a 2028 run is unlikely. It feels a bit like a defeatist statement, especially at the state of the race. What do you make of him saying it now?
Well, I actually think that he's more focused on this election and knows that he's going to win this election, that there doesn't even need to be a discussion about a run in 2028. At that point, we'll be gearing up for a race with Vance and maybe someone else on the ticket. It'll be a completely different story. I know everybody is focused on the next 44 days. He's doing extremely well. I saw the national poll, which is greatly flawed. Anytime you have a national poll, you take a heavy weight on cities like New York and LA and places that are very dark blue, California, as opposed to the battleground states where the president is doing incredibly well and continues to do well. He has so much room to gain more and more support. He's doing well amongst Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, suburban families. And it seems as though Kamala Harris continues to lose and be underwater, especially in places that, Obama and Biden did significantly better in.
Jared, Harris today confirming she will give an economic address this week, releasing new proposals. We've heard some big picture ideas. You could say she's had providing $25,000 down payment of first-time home buyers who meet certain criteria, among other plans. Some of these ideas, though, they've been met with some sharp criticism over feasibility. Do you think we're going to get specifics, answers to some of these challenges? Or are we going to be hearing more what some would argue are platitudes?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're sure going to get a lot more than a concept for a plan, which is what former President Trump espoused at the debate. So I think from Vice President Harris, you're going to hear detail and you're going to hear a plan and a vision and not just demagoguery and vilifying immigrant groups, which really says to me that former President Trump is running scared. He won't debate her again because he lost in such a cataclysmic way last time. And I think he's on the ropes. And when you're on the ropes, you start complaining about the refs and complaining about the rules. And that's exactly what he's doing. And I take what you took from that interview today, which is he looks defeated. He looks like he doesn't have the stamina to go the distance. A lot was made of Joe Biden and his fitness and his age and all that. And I think people ought to be taking a really hard look at Donald Trump and his fitness and his ability to take office again.
Well, it appeared the comments themselves, and some had mentioned that they seemed as though they were a defeatist statement. I appreciate Ashley's perspective on it, one that I hadn't heard as of yet. Ashley, again, the Vice President Harris, she's now touting the endorsement of more than 700 national security leaders. And this is definitely territory the former president enjoys touting. What do you make of these endorsements? Do you think it may cut into some of the undecided or independent voters who are now leaning in the direction of the former president?
You mean the overwhelming majority of Americans who don't trust the establishment government, the security experts, the intelligence officers who said the Hunter Biden laptop was not real? Are these the people that we're looking at? There were no new wars when we had President Trump in office. And that's something that is, very, very prominent. I was on the ground yesterday in Pennsylvania, knocking on doors with my team. I wanted to hear firsthand what people were saying. And they said, we need a leader, and that is Donald Trump. We need someone who is strong. One person literally said, can you actually imagine Kamala Harris trying to take on some of these world leaders? Absolutely not. That's why you're seeing her party in such disarray between the Jewish community and the Muslim community over her position with Gaza. That's why you're seeing so many people are really enlisted military officers who crave the leadership of Donald Trump that they had from 2016 to 2020 when he prioritized veterans and our military families by far more than this administration has. Look at those 13 Marines, those 13 military members who were killed. And there's been no acknowledgement of that from the Biden administration, from Kamala Harris herself. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a non-issue for President Trump. And I know that the American people are on his side.
I'd love a second to comment there. I mean, it seems like every day we hear about another Trump administration official who comes out and says they're not going to vote for him a second time, including his own vice president. Not to mention, as a member of the American Jewish community myself, I would tell you that the American Jewish community is going to come out and support Kamala Harris as they do for Democratic candidates every single time. Much is going to be made about what the percentage win is, and it's going to be within the normal band of what the American Jewish community does, because they align with the values of Vice President Harris and what she has done as vice president to support the state of Israel, which by the numbers
is nothing.
Not maybe in Fantasyland it's nothing. It's actually the greatest by dollar for dollar support for the state of Israel ever in American history over the last 4 years. I challenge anybody to come up with numbers showing that to the contrary. But in Trump land, facts actually don't matter. Demagoguery matters.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.